Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, David here, and once again, we're back with more news. Of course, I talked about a recent panel that was hosted here by the Persona series producer at Atlus, talking about the future of the Persona series, how they're seeing things, how they're going to approach future releases, worldwide releases, multi-platform, etc. Very interesting stuff. That's still recent news as of the time of recording this video, so if you want to check that out, the link is going to be in the video description. But as always, if you don't know me, my name's David. Trying to run this YouTube channel to be the #1 place for Atlus news. So if you like the content, a thumbs up is always a big help. Please consider subscribing as well. Today's content is interesting, is extremely interesting because it's again about the future of Atlus, most specifically of the Metaphor franchise maybe, or just Metaphor ReFantazio in general. What happened is the first issue of Famitsu, which is set to release next week in early January, that would be issue 1880. It leaked. The Famitsu magazine leaked, and Famitsu is like a big gaming outlet in Japan. And Studio Zero director Katsura Ishino, the man himself who gave us a lot of recent Persona games, and of course Metaphor ReFantazio, which still love this game so much. He was interviewed in the Famitsu magazine, and what came out of it is really interesting. Of course, they're talking about a potential sequel for Metaphor and everything, so let's just straight up get into it. So once again, issue 1880 of Famitsu set to release on January 9th. We have an interview here with Studio Zero director Katsura Ishino. Shoutouts to Persona Central for the translation and leaked information. As always, my sources are in the video description. So we have the information here, which is from an interview with Famitsu. Hashino had to say, "If I decide that the best setting for a future title is the Sengoku period, it might turn into a JRPG with a world like the Basara series," and then he proceeds to laugh. So they were pretty much talking about the future and the potential sequel of Metaphor. That was the first answer that he gave to that. So he also said, when again talked about the future and the potential sequel, that there are no concrete plans to make Metaphor into a series. So no concrete plans. To me, I would translate that to say they are not actively working on it, but after seeing the reception to the game's release, and of course the team's desire to do another game, they're at least talking about it now. But it's not in development, it has not started, there's nothing concrete yet, you know? This, to me, as weird as it sounds really good. Then he says, "I do hope it can become a series one day. Since the project started with the goal of creating a third JRPG series alongside Shin Megami Tensei and Persona, I'd like to develop it into a flagship title that represents our company." Y'all, we have our third pillar. Finally, they tried with Soul Hackers 2. Game's pretty good, but of course it was not up to our standards enough to be the big third pillar. Metaphor certainly is, so I think that this is looking really good. They have immense success, as Reggie's pointing out in his article here. The game sold over 1 million instantly, pretty much. On the same day at launch, it sold 1 million copies, over 1 million copies. We don't have updated numbers as of now. It won RPG of the year at Game Awards, Best Narrative, I think, too. It is a very big critical success, but sales-wise, fans are eating up Metaphor. I know I am, and I would be very curious to see what are the updated numbers now after the Game Awards and after all the praise that reviewers gave Metaphor ReFantazio. So, am I expecting something else from Metaphor? At this point, 100%, y'all, 100%. The game is too successful for us not to get something else. I want to talk about what is the something else. To me, there's 2.5 options. Let me explain. So the first option is the sequel, something else. So probably not a Metaphor ReFantazio 2, but something, again, as Shino's talking about, maybe something in a different era, in a different period of time, but something that is structured similarly in a new universe. Maybe there's still humans and everything. I don't know. Something along those lines, a sequel. To me, that's best case scenario. Move on, give me another game in the franchise, make it different and everything. I'll eat it up. Best case scenario. The point 5 is DLC. So a DLC for Metaphor. continue the story of academia, create some sort of prologue or even epilogue in some way, shape, or form. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I think there's a lot of potential here with how the game ends. They could make something very interesting gameplay-wise with that. So something that happens after the events of the first game in the DLC, lots of potential. Why did I say that's 8.5? Because some of y'all won't like this. In my opinion, they're probably not going to do DLC. I think what they're going to do is the Vengeance version of the game, the Royal version of the game, the full body, the Ultimax version of the game. Ultimax probably isn't a good example. You understand what I mean. So some sort of enhanced re-release. They could match that with the timing of the Nintendo Switch 2 launch, you know, have it relaunch again next year with a big epilogue or something, with a big expansion. I know some of y'all are not fans of this. People are tired of rebuying games and everything. And I do think it's going to hurt how people view the company if they do that again, because people are very tired and they can excuse it when a game becomes multi-platform. Like with Vengeance, I think it went through pretty smoothly, but people are tired of enhanced re-releases like this, and I kind of get it. I mean, I understand both camps. I would be fine with that. I would buy that, but I am I'm an Atlus freak at this point. I am what I consider to be one of the biggest Atlus fans. I own a bunch of figures, a bunch of collector's edition. I import merch from Japan that is from Atlus. I have lots of collector's item for Atlus stuff. I have all the games. I play all the games. I do weekly videos about Atlus. I've been doing that for almost 5 years. Not everyone's like me. So if you complain, if what Atlus puts out is a B tier type of franchise to you, but you're still a fan, you want to skip an enhanced re-release, I cannot blame you at all. Anyways, I don't want to make this video a debate about this, but I think those are our options. So with the success of Metaphor, with what Hoshino is saying here in Famitsu, I fully expect something else. DLC, a royal version, or even a sequel. If they have the desire to really push Metaphor as a third pillar, I honestly think the sequel scenario is the best thing to do. Make sure people don't forget about your 94 ranked game on Metacritic. Your 94 Metascore, people need to remember that. Your game awards, your awards that you got from that show, people need to remember that. So with a sequel, people will. With a DLC, they might, but a DLC doesn't impact as much. And an enhanced re-release, I think, is going to come with a lot of backlash, which might impact the sales of the game, depending on how they do it. So we'll have to wait and see. But overall, what I'm reporting today is extremely good news. I'm really looking forward to the future of this franchise. Metaphor ReFantazio is a game that I have complaints about, but it's overall a very solid game that I had a ton of fun playing. I played the game for over 80 hours up until completion, and it delivered. It lived up to almost a decade of expectations. If you were there when they first talked about Project ReFantazio, I was 9 years ago. We're getting old. But yeah, you guys, I hope you guys are excited as much as I am for this one. Please stay tuned. I am hoping / expecting a little more news to come out in the next few days or so. I'll be there to report about that as always. So shout outs, thank you so much for watching. You have a good day. Bye.